Candidate nights are interesting. I have a peculiar personality quirk. I like to see politicians squirm a little bit, so I kind of enjoy doing this. In our Ohio 18th district, we started doing these candidate nights, and there were 7 Republicans running. The incumbent Democrat would not show up. And what we're going to go through is how to do it, rules for it, how to get the candidates there. Sometimes you have to shame them into coming or put them in a corner, and I'll show you how to do that. This is the best way that you can find out what these candidates believe, because if you allow them to do a Republican or a Democratic candidate night, you're going to get canned questions. They have 2 weeks to come up with an answer. These are all open forum where the people come and ask questions themselves. So these guys got to be able to think on their feet, and it really stresses them out. They don't like to do this. We did one in Columbus on an issue, and one of the people came up afterwards and they said this is the most stressful thing she's ever done. Because, like I said, you're being filmed and people in the audience are asking them questions and they're allowed to do follow-up questions. Like I said, you better have your act together if you're gonna be sitting up front being asked questions by the people, because the people are pretty smart and they know when they're being fed a line of BS. Okay, candidate nights. Here again, incumbent was a no-show. There was 6 candidate nights throughout the district. We got a lot of kudos from the people that came. They thought it was rather unique. They'd never seen anything like this before. Based on the web traffic that we got afterwards, because we filmed these things and we put them on our website, we were getting hits from the Democratic National Committee. This was in 24 hours of the time we posted it on the website. We were getting hits from the Democratic National Committee, the Republican National Committee, the Democratic Campaign Finance Committee. Then we started getting hit from organized labor. Then we got hit from by political consultants, and then by large corporations in that sequence. And we were trying to figure out what's going on here. Well, what it was the political parties were getting nervous, then their consultants were getting nervous, and then the campaign managers were getting a little nervous, and then their contributors were getting nervous. That was a sequence of events we could tell by how they were hitting the website. So 7 people in a district of 660,000 voters, or 660,000 people, had that kind of an impact and got that much attention with all of these organizations. So we knew we were doing something right. Okay, voter guides. We distributed 65,000 voter guides in the newspaper. We found out that even though newspapers didn't necessarily agree with our views, they needed the money because they're losing readership. And for 0.4 cents per copy, they agreed to distribute these 65,000 voter guides. We put them out on a Sunday. That way none of the candidates had any opportunity to come against anything that we did. It was 3 days before the election. There was no time to mount a campaign that said, well, I didn't really mean what I said on the voter guide. The voter guides came from the Abigail Adams Project. You mentioned Kimberly Fletcher. She has that organization up. And if you go to the Abigail Adams website, you'll find voter guides for just about every position there is. You can modify the voter guides to put your own questions in there if you want to kind of customize them to your precinct or to your race, that you're dealing with. We did for the Ohio 18th. Voter guides, candidate nights, door-to-door, precinct organizing. We took a quote-unquote blue dog Democrat that was said to win by 4 points. He lost by 19, which was a huge margin. He lost by, according to the polling, he lost by 23 points, below what he was supposed to have won by. And that's a huge difference. I think 8 to 10% is considered a landslide. Election impact, going back to Pete's presentation. The door-to-door canvassing impact is 4.0. Candidate nights, as you'll see, is just about the same. Voter guides is up there. So between the door-to-door canvassing, the voter guides, and the candidate night, those are your 3 most impactful things that you can do for an election.
And this analysis, it's not a statistical based one. This is a survey of all of the Tea parties in Ohio based on what they felt was most impactful.
Mm-hmm. The candidate nights, the voter become informed. The questions are random from the audience, and we'll get into how to do that. We videotape the presentations and posted them on the website. And you try to do these things before the mail-in ballot. Now in Ohio, our mail-in ballot started, I think it was on the 3rd or the 5th of October. because of the way our ex-Secretary of State set it up. We have what they call a dream week, where you can go in and register and vote on the same day. And in the 2010 election, we had 600,000 new voters register, and they said that over 200,000 of those, they never had a chance to check it to see if they were even real people. 2008, right, excuse me. But, so you want to try to time these before the mail-in voting starts in your state. And you also collaborate with other nonpartisan organizations. We had 6 Tea Party groups got together to do this. Our 18th district was 16 counties, big. So we partnered up with people in the other districts. I was the moderator in these things, and when I saw 3 to 4 hours, I thought, oh, how can we keep this thing sustained? When we started on the first night, and the first one we had, I had 7 cards up here. I had 7 names to call. And we were thinking 3 hours, and I was breaking out in a cold sweat because I'm thinking seven questions are going to go for 3 hours. I don't think so. What was fascinating was the more questions were asked from the audience, the more people wanted to ask questions. And we had people out there handing out cards to put their names on throughout, and I was getting cards continually. The first one we had scheduled for 3 hours, we went 3 hours and 45 minutes. At the 3-hour time frame, I asked the people if they wanted to stay. We had 350 people in the auditorium and 4 of them left. So, I mean, the people were really engaged in these things because they normally don't get a chance to have an open forum debate with a candidate. As the audience comes in, we gave them 3x5 cards. And the first time we did this, and it was for a city council race, it wasn't for this particular one, but the first time we did this, I had people writing questions down on cards. I couldn't read half of their writing, so I said, no, we're not going to do that. We'll just put the name on the card. I'll call the name, and we'll let them ask questions. We also handed out a straw poll going in when they came in. And we said, who would you vote for coming in, and who would you vote for coming out after the candidate night? And we found that 42% of the people that came in changed their minds on who they would vote for when they left. And that 40 to 45% was consistent throughout all of the candidate nights. So we knew these candidate nights were having a pretty huge impact on what people thought of the candidates and what they were learning from their candidates by hearing these questions. Okay, here's the actual program sequence. We did the pledge and a prayer, introductions. The organizer would introduce the event, who it was put on by, introduce myself. I was the moderator, and I would read the candidates' bios. We would do the ground rules, and they're on the website. The ground rules and the candidates would each have, I think, 2 minutes to say why they were running for office. The audience questions to the candidates are drawn randomly from the cards. And at the end, we gave the candidates 2 minutes to do a closing statement and a wrap. We have a timekeeper sitting down front, a card. On one side, it says 1 minute left, and one side, time is up. We decided to make the time is up side in red. As the moderator, I would normally give them 15 to 20 seconds because obviously when your time's up, I'm not going to cut them off in the middle of a sentence. So I'd give them 15 or 20 seconds to finish out their thought, and then we'd go to the next one. After the first one also, we had people that wanted to get up and make a statement because they had something to say. They didn't really want to have a question, so we shut that down. These were for questions that the candidates can answer. I even had to go so far as to shut a guy's mic off once because he wouldn't sit down and shut up. You know, short of grabbing the guy and wrestling him to the ground and throwing him out the door, I don't think we were going to shut him up, so we just cut his microphone off. Okay, we gave people, when their names were called, somebody goes over to them with a microphone, we give them 30 seconds to ask her question. We felt that you could pretty much ask any kind of a question within 30 seconds, you know, that was rational. And because we had so many candidates, we said we'd let them ask one candidate a single question with a follow-up, or one question of all the candidates with no follow-up because of time constraints, because we had so many people. We also said yes or no. As a person asking a question, I can ask the candidate, here's my question, answer it yes or no. And that freaks them out because they don't want to do that. They like to spin. So they don't like yes or no questions. And this was the rules to the candidates. If somebody asks you a yes or no question, you have to answer it yes or no. Because if you don't, you go on the voter guide as refuse to answer. And they don't want that. That hurts them. So we kind of put them in a box doing that. Now they did have their 3 minutes to answer the question to quantify why they said yes or no. You know, we wanted to give them an opportunity to say, this no is my answer and this is why it's no. You know, so we did give them time to go back and say, here's my qualifications on why my answer was either yes or no. There's a candidate night in Town Hall on the tab on the Voice of America website, and you'll see all this information on there. Okay, voter guides. Voter guides are to inform voters of the candidates' positions. You could make up your own, or you can use Abigail Adams. Voter guides are something that you send to a candidate with questions on it. You're asking them to answer the questions and send back the voter guides to you. Okay. We did use content from the candidate nights. Some of the answers that they had, what their positions were on abortion, on the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, these kind of things. We would actually put those as questions on the voter guide and put the candidates' answers on that also. It's fascinating when you do a voter guide. We had one person that was a lawyer, and this person did not answer a single question, yes or no. We got paragraphs for every question, paragraphs. And I'm thinking to myself, this is why lawyers shouldn't be in government. Because you won, right? It was fascinating, and even to read the answers, some of them were pro and con. You know, they didn't really answer the question at all. They gave a position on both sides of the question. It was kind of fascinating. Every candidate receives a questionnaire. They're for federal, state, or local elections. Most of the questions on the Abigail Adams voter guides are constitutionally based questions or social issue based. We do print the voter guides. We post the voter guides on the internet, and we distribute them through the voters. Like I said, we did newspaper inserts. You can do door to door. We did some of that, but not very much because of the large area. We had 16 counties to cover. And also, you can hand out your voter guides at the polls on Election Day. Typically, we try to stay nonpartisan on these voter guides. If you're a 501c3, you got to stay nonpartisan anyway. This is strictly, if you're a 501c3, you got to be educational and not take sides. And because we teach nonpartisan precinct organizing, we keep all of the voter guides and this kind of thing. We keep that nonpartisan also. Abigail Adams is a pretty interesting organization. They launched in the fall of 2009. They have 23 states right now, and other states are coming on board. Here's a sample questionnaire of one of their voter guides. Number one is taxpayer-funded healthcare mandate and run by the government, and they're asking for a yes or no on that. There's also an asterisk you'll see next to some of them, and that means that the way they answered the questionnaire was not the way they voted. So you know they're lying. So that's another cool thing about the voter guide. Here again, you can nail the incumbents down as to how they voted. If they say, yes, I believe this, but I didn't vote that way, the people that are going to the polls are going to know that. This is a sample page off the Ohio 18 website. And I think it might still be up if you want to go and look at it. And the voter guide down in the lower portion of it. Here again, this is the section where it explains what the asterisk is next to the yes or no. The fact that their voting record does not agree with their answer. If a candidate refuses to return the survey, they mark the voter guides as refused to answer. That's kind of a death blow to a candidate when basically we didn't say on ours that they refused to answer. We said they refused to answer the citizens' questions. We wanted to make it, quite frankly, as damaging as possible. If they want to run and hide, we want to hammer them for it. Because this is about being open and honest and communicating with the voters. This isn't about keeping secret what you think and what you believe. We it provides candidate issues perspective despite the media hype and the political tactics. And voters who have not followed politics have a nice, concise document that they can see what all the positions that the candidate holds are. In the Abigail Adams Project, there's a state coordinator, county coordinator, and team leaders. It would be very good if you could find people that could fill these positions. What the county and team leaders do is they do research, like the county coordinator does the team research, conduct the research on county-specific candidates. And the team leaders underneath the county coordinator creates and distributes the voter guides, downloading information from the website. What they do is you send out the voter guide, you print it out, and you send the voter guide out to the candidate. You send this thing out, certified return receipt. Because if you email it to them, they'll never see it, or they'll say they'll never see it. If you put it in their hand, they won't remember. But if you send it certified return receipt where the U.S. Post Office says they got it, they can't say they never saw it. And then you can put on the voter guide that they refused to answer it. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, we got it. No, we never got that. You never sent that to us. And then you put that on the voter guide that we refused to answer the question. You know, what are you trying to do to me? As long as you send it out return receipt, they're caught. They can't get away from you. Okay, if you go to the Abigail Adams website, abigailadamsproject.org, and click on your state link, you'll find out who your state coordinator is. Like I said, it would be very beneficial if they had a contact in every county in Pennsylvania so that you could do those kind of things. It doesn't take a whole lot of work, really. It's minimal work with maximum impact. Okay. Voter guide details. You can see all of the information on the website. Here again, go to the website and look it over. It's a pretty neat website. I really like it. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.